Hello guys, how's it going? Warlords of Draenor is finally over. Today is a new day in Legion and the pre-patch is available in the US. By the time you see this video, we just had a stream where we played Warlords of Draenor and it was just like a farewell stream. Bye Warlords, we will miss you in certain ways, but for the most part, we're pretty happy to be moving on into Legion. A lot of people have been asking me questions of, hey Dal, what spec, what class, what race class combination should I play? And if it's a simple question, something like, hey, Dal, what spec of rogue should I play? I don't generally I don't tell people, hey, you should play Assass or Subtlety or Outlaw. For the most part, I tell people, hey, Outlaw is a sustained damage with a lot of CC, Subtlety is a lot of mobility with good sustain and burst, Assassination has the most amount of diverse ways of damaging, insane burst but lacking in CC. That's usually how I tell people what the specs are like. I don't like to tell people, hey, this is spec you should play, because honestly the choice is yours. But a lot of people still want to know which spec they should play, which spec they should invest into because of the way artifact weapon will work. It's going to be mainly like an expansion where maining a certain spec should prove to be fruitful overall in a long period of time. So, I just want to talk to you guys about some of the things you should look at when deciding which class or spec to play for Legion. First of all, if you're looking at the game in terms of balancing, Blizzard has sold Legion as an expansion where PvP tuning is going to be more fine-tuned. As in, each spec is going to have a certain stats for haste, mastery, crit, versatility, agility, stamina in terms of PvP, and your gear isn't going to be a big majority of that stat. It's going to be a percentage, but not 100%. Currently in Warlord, somebody with better gear can destroy somebody with green gear. In Legion, it's supposed to be somebody with green gear and somebody with full PvP gear have a pretty fair 1v1 situation on their hands, where it could go in either direction. So that's one of the fun things about Legion, is they're really taking out the gear as much out of the equation as possible for the core of the balancing. So it's more about skill and not about the player's gear. So that's a good thing, but with all the changes that they're doing and all the balancing they're doing for the specs, you shouldn't be looking at specs, oh hey, this spec deals a lot of damage, I want to play someone that hits the hardest, let's do it. Because the numbers are going to be adjusted and more fine-tuned. At least that's how Blizzard is selling it. Now, I don't know if that's how the game is going to be at the very end, or if that's how Legion is going to come out to be a more balanced PvP expansion. I am not 100% sure about these things. But that is how Blizzard is selling themselves, so let's just believe into that. Because if we don't, then if Legion does end up falling through as an expansion, then Legacy servers might be an idea, so it's pretty win-win for the community. So we might as well invest some hope into Legion. So don't look at the class in terms of just how hard they hit or how much they heal, but look at other things. First of all, playstyle. What kind of playstyle do you have? Are you a fire mage who's looking for crit procs and just trying to line up crits and just looking out for little itty bitty damages all over the place? Are you a frost death knight who's all about ranging the target and then bursting them down by building the runic power and keeping up runic power as much as possible? Are you an outlaw rogue who have a lot of sustained damage with a lot of CC capabilities, some major survivability, and a lot of utility in terms of just like how you assist the friendlies? Are you more of a survival hunter, kind of wants to play hunter but at melee range to chase down a target and then use traps in order to get away once the situation gets hairy? You should look at the class in terms of how to play. Figure out if you like melee playstyle or range playstyle, figure out if you like to play as a DPS or a healer, and then find the one that you like. Basically, you would have to make the character, or level 1, try out the spec, just try it, see what you like, check the mobility, check your defensives, check your offensives, check your PvP utility, check what you can do that other classes cannot. Like for example, we have Karma for monks, but we also have an ability for Eye for an Eye for red paladins. So it basically works in the same fashion, and Karma, it'll redirect damage that you take for a short amount of time to the enemy, like a dot, so it'll take whatever damage it has and it'll combine it into a big dot onto the enemy. And Eye for an Eye for Paladin works, it'll let the Paladin take the hit, but also reflect it back at the enemy. So you have two different hybrid classes, one uses agility, one uses strength. Both have this karma-like mechanic, but both of them are different in terms of its cooldown, its utility, how it functions overall. So you gotta look at these minute details in terms of deciding which class or spec you want to play. For the most part, as far as it looks like, the race combinations, because I'm pretty sure somebody's going to ask about racials, race combinations aren't going to be too much of an issue. The only one that's at somewhat advantage is human in terms of duels, when you're playing against like a rogue, like the rogue versus rogue duel. If both rogues are human, then the human one has advantage because you can get out of the stun early. But in terms of like arenas and battlegrounds, I feel like all the ratios are fairly arbitrary. Though for the most part, it's about, hey, what spec, what class combination looks good. So if that is true, and hopefully that holds up true, I might just go Worgen Outlaw Rogue, or maybe even go an Undead Pirate. That would be pretty great and pretty sweet. So when taking a look at which class and spec you want to play, don't look at the numbers themselves in terms of just like how much raw damage you deal. Look at the things like playstyle, look at the things like defensives, what fits your playstyle, what would you find more fun. Maybe Demon Hunter will be perfect for you, because you like that mobility, but you are not too worried about having self-defensives, as Demon Hunters don't have too many ways of healing except through offensive countermeasure, with Metamorphosis giving you 100% leech. Maybe you're a Death Knight and you're like Unholy, where you just want to dot the world, but you still want to have that plate to be able to get back in the enemy and get into the melee of the fight, but still want to have a lot of range damage. Because someone like an Holy DK and Affliction Warlock both deal strong dot damage at a distance, but both of them do play differently. While they are similar in some sense, they are different, and those are the differences you should be looking for. So for the most part, as far as they're selling this expansion, even for PvE, most specs should be able to do single target and AoE, depending on how you build yourself. Some will definitely have it a little bit easier to do single target, some will have it a little bit easier to do AoE, but for the most part, it is not a set in stone thing where you have to have like a combat rogue spec for AoE fights, subtlety rogue for single target fights, and none of that. And this definitely goes into PvP, where just about every single spec, just about every single class has a purpose, has a place in PvP community, and has a place to has something they can do in terms of helping out their friendlies in PvP. So take that into consideration. Hopefully this helps you guys decide which spec you want to play. My name is Dalron. Hopefully this was helpful to any of you. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.